the Pickle Palace. We're excited. We're just going to get straight into things because it is crossover season and we have a lot to talk about. Joining me now is Scott Dochterman from The Athletic to talk Hawkeye football. Iowa falls to USC 26-21. It's the Hawkeyes' second straight loss. They're now in a 5-way tie in the Big Ten standings, sitting 6-4 overall, 4-3 in conference play. This one hurt. This one stung.
This is a tough one, and it's understandable.
Yep.
There's some anger, but I think I sense mostly frustration. Like this was one that you felt like it was there, but there were some plays that got taken away that weren't added to Iowa. But then you had injuries on top of it. This was a winnable game, but you're sitting here now, 4 losses, 15 points. That leaves a mark, and it reminds me a lot of one of the years was 2008, where they lost 4 games by 12 points, and this feels a lot like that, where this team is really good. I think this might be the best team we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years at Iowa, but when you don't have a signature win and you're losing a lot of close games, it's hard to really feel that way.
Well, I think that's a thing, too. We kind of always talked about how they'd get one. They'd get one ranked opponent. We thought about those 3 that were coming to Kinnick Stadium, and then they truly didn't get any. I think Penn State's kind of the wash. It would have mattered if Penn State was at the level that they were playing at, but they weren't. I think one of the frustrating things, too, was that the Hawkeyes led 21-10 at the half and then did not score any points in the second half. That's frustrating. That is not how you're going to beat this USC team.
It's not, especially when you have some of the players that they have. I mean, their combination at wide receiver is really close, if not just as good as what you see at Ohio State, and probably a little bit better than what you see at Indiana. Those are Mekhi Lemon is least the second best receiver in the country, and Jacoby Lane is right up there as well. This was a team that led the country with more than 500 yards of total offense per game, and Iowa did a nice job, I thought, defensively. I mean, 26 points given up, 360 yards. That's a really good day against this team. But in the second half, 14 carries for 83 yards, 4 of 8 passing with that freakish interception and for 25 yards. You're going to have to score points. And granted, there were a few situations where the ball bounced the wrong way, or there was a blade of grass in between a toenail and the sideline or not. And that really impacted the final score as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Iowa's kind of been on the wrong side, too, of some of those interceptions, especially the timing of the game and everything. You know me, but I like to start with the good. I think one of the goods was that nice trick play. Reese Vanderzee to Caden Weegan to Gronowski in the end zone. I mean, the fact that they said that they had worked on that in practice and it worked every single time, and then when you execute it in a game, like that is the best feeling from any player. Obviously it goes well in practice. That's why you want to execute it in a game, but then to see it play out the way it did, I was like, all right. I literally turned and I was like, who is this Iowa team? It was fun.
Yeah, you don't get many opportunities like that at Iowa. They don't showcase that enough, but it worked to perfection, exactly the way you wanted it to. And Reese Vanderzee is a former high school quarterback, so making that pass is a good thing. I think one thing I saw, and granted I was in Chicago for the Wrigley game, but one thing I saw when I rewatched this game was just how blessed Iowa is with a great offensive line when it's all healthy.
Yeah.
Some of the combo blocks from Logan Jones and Bo Stevens before he got hurt, just some tremendous blocking up front. I mean, this is something that we'll miss because I really have enjoyed. I like that style of football, and I've really enjoyed the way that they've put this offensive line together when it's healthy.
And we watched 3 of their starters obviously exit the game. Jennings Dunker, Bo Stevens, Cade Pieper as well.
Yeah.
They all were on, obviously, the depth chart this week, but losing those guys, it obviously played out on the field too. Yeah,
it does, because it just disrupts the rhythm offensively. And Iowa had a really good day, I thought, running the football. But even after halftime, 83 yards after halftime is still a pretty good total. This was a team where you could run on, and you just wonder, like in the fourth quarter, if one of them was out there, maybe they get a little bit better block. I mean, it did impact the game, and then likewise through the passing game. But they're all listed, so I'm sure it's they'll try to play, but
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's hurt this time of year. When they say they're fine, they're not fine. That just means all play.
Yep. Yep, it does. The Gronowski to Egan, you mentioned it, the blade of grass maybe in between. On that fourth down, Gronowski threw the ball to Caden Weegan, final 2 minutes of the game, which could have been, a decisive play, obviously. He was ruled out of bounds. Rewatching it, thoughts?
Oh, what a killer.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it really kind of depends on the angle in which you see his foot come down. And that's what's really unfortunate because one angle kind of makes it look like he stepped on the line. There's another angle which looks like that there's it's not white in between his cleat and the sideline. And if that's the case, you've got to call it. I mean, sometimes I think when it's that close, kind of allow the receiver to kind of live in that moment. And I thought, and I saw an angle where it did look like there was, either green or brown, whatever the shade is there in between his cleat and the sideline. And it should have been first and goal, Iowa, whatever yard line was, 7 or something like that. But unfortunately for Iowa, it didn't come back. And that's going to be the kind of the statement for this season. The scarlet letter is just how close they are to, whether it's opposite, like the Oregon game, that pass that just went outside of TJ Hall's fingers, to this one where it did get overturned, on the field, and that's going to be ultimately what kind of hurts when you look back at this year.
Yeah. I think, though, for this one, too, like when it's ruled incomplete, out of bounds, it's hard to overturn it at that point. I understand it. I do think, though, as even from that 2 minutes beyond, a lot of fans a little bit scratching their heads maybe and frustrated by some of the calls or the no calls and everything. I don't think that the officiating was, the greatest to close out this game, and it kind of, especially that, what was it, the personal foul on the sideline to kind of end this one. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a game kind of end like that.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate call, and it's just as unfortunate that the League-owned network didn't show what happened, because I think it leaves everybody open to interpretation as to, how bad was it. I mean, I guess it's kind of like with basketball officiating. What did you say? And you got dinged up. But good officials know that that's the heat of the game and the heat of the moment. You got to walk away. And again, we couldn't see what exactly happened to warrant a 15-yard penalty that ultimately decided the game. Now, I'm not saying Iowa would have stopped USC, forced a punt, and then went down the length of the field in 1 minute to win the game. That would have been a lot to ask, but you'd like to see him try it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the face mask. That's
yeah.
If the league office can excuse the penalty on the coach because he probably said bad words. They happen sometimes. And then the catch on the sideline, well, there wasn't enough to overturn, okay. But if you're going to miss a face mask, a blatant face mask like that, where his whole helmet gets turned and you miss that, they should come out with some sort of reprimand for that. That's just uncalled for. In a game where you're trying to keep the safety of the player at bay, this is one that really needs to be come out hard for by the Big Ten.
Yeah. Quick thoughts, really quick, on Iowa, obviously facing Michigan State, final home game of the regular season. Spartans winless in the Big Ten. They're 3-7 overall, 0-7 in the Big Ten. But you can't forget that Michigan State obviously beat Iowa 32-20 last year in East Lansing. Not the same Michigan State team, though. That'll be there on Saturday.
No, and it wasn't really a good Michigan State team last year, and it's a really bad one this year. I mean, they've lost 8 straight. That's the longest losing streak they've ever had as a member of the Big Ten, and when they joined in 1953. They're bad in every area except punting. If you could believe that, they're number 1 in the Big Ten in punting, and Iowa's 16th. If you were to ask anybody on the street who's better punting team, it's going to be Iowa, but not in this case. But they're equally 15th, 14th, 16th in every single category, both sides of the ball. They allow 31 points per game. They all the way up and down the lineup. This is not a good team. This is probably one of those get-well games for Iowa, and it's one where your seniors can go out and feel pretty good about themselves after a really tough year.
All right, we'll talk more about this senior class when we come back. All right, welcome back into On Iowa Live. Scott, let's talk this senior class and just kind of what do you think that they will be remembered for?
This is a class that really transitioned from the end of the COVID era to now.
Oh, yeah.
They had to deal with a lot. I mean, from their senior years, but a lot of them didn't get senior years, or it's very, small. Their recruiting opportunities were lighter than they should have been, to all the way to now, and the way that they have battled and they've persevered and played together, and they really are a together unit. You look on the defense, guys, sixth-year guys like Ethan Herkett or Logan Jones is center on offense, to Bo Stevens and Jackson Rexroth, to the secondary Xavier Wampa, who's a 4-year guy. But they really have been the glue that has held this program together, and I think that needs to be admired and appreciated. And then you look also at Mark Gronowski's a new guy, but he's been a really good player for Iowa. I know first quarter of the season we're all like, oh God, here we go again, but then since then he's been remarkable. I mean, he's set the Iowa record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. He's been a really good player. Yeah,
you bet. Let's take some audience questions. This one's from Eugene. Why does our offense bog down so much? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, honestly, I think with Iowa, it's the lack of a vertical threat on offense and the passing game. You just the tight end is still young and growing, and Voname is improving, but that's not Sam Laporta. They're really at receiver. There hasn't been anybody who can stretch the field. You look across the way and you see Mekhi Lemon, and you're like, okay, that's how it's supposed to look.
Yes.
But there's nobody like that at Iowa.
Yep. And then this one's from Walt. Which is more surprising for this season? Iowa's passing offense ranked 131st, or Iowa's passing defense ranked 44th?
I would say the passing offense being a little bit down. The pass defense, when you look at the teams they're playing, that adds up. When you got Oregon and you got USC, I mean, USC averages 500 yards a game. Oregon has one of the most potent attacks in all of college football. Indiana, and yet you also see how have they handled those teams compared to their statistics. Now, Iowa's statistics are up a little bit, but they're not playing Northwestern and Purdue. I mean, they are playing some pretty good teams.
Yeah. Put some respect on these Big Ten teams, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. This one, will Iowa go to the transfer portal for a quarterback next year, or go with someone on their current roster, or even a new recruit? What are your thoughts?
I think they're going to stand pat, but if somebody falls in their lap, I don't think they'll say no.
Right,
I mean, I think they like Jeremy Heklinski. He's kind of taken over the number 2 spot. Hank Brown, they had a lot of faith in, and he struggled in that Indiana game, no question. But they put a lot of equity into him, and then you've got a couple other quarterbacks, and plus a 4-star coming in that they're able to lure away from Boise State, Traydon Bessinger, and he's got 4,300 passing yards, 50 touchdowns this year. Looks the part. I think they've got some prospects, and you just can't live in the portal at quarterback because you're going to strike out. And I think if they can develop one of those players, if it's Jeremy Heklinski, great. If it's somebody else, fine. I think they'll probably stand pat, or at least try to.
Hey, they've got options. This one, last question kind of goes into the conversation I want to have with you next. With all these close losses to rated teams, do you see it affecting recruiting at all?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
One of the things, I think people, their emotions get the best of them when they see things like this. And, you lose a close game, and, recruits, you're going to hate this. They're not that shallow. I mean, they're human beings, and they're going to make a lifelong commitment and decision to this campus and to these coaches. And so for them to go, all right, they lost USC, I'm not going there. No, they're not that way. I mean, they've developed relationships with these coaches, with the community. There's a lot of investment there. And so now some of them, may decide on money. But I don't think it'll be because unless you're like Penn State or Wisconsin and really underachieved.
Yeah. Which brings me to big picture. Hawkeyes sit 6-4, did not beat any top 25 ranked opponents this season. What do you make of the season?
I think it's a good season, not a great season. And this is all dependent upon what happens next.
Right.
I mean, let's say, I don't think I could even call it a good season if they lose one of the next two.
Agreed.
Because you don't want, if you lose to Nebraska, it's not good. I think everybody respects that. And I think they feel the same way about Iowa. But if Iowa wins, it goes 8-4, goes to a bowl game, and especially if it wins and it's a 9-4 season, I think all things considered, this is a good year for Iowa. It's a solid year. It's not a great year. You didn't have a signature moment, at least in the regular season. But this is a very good program. It's a very healthy program. It's one of the most healthy in the country. It has a lot of respect. And I think, the emotions of the moment get to everybody, but in the big picture, Iowa is in fantastic shape. They're in much better shape now than they were 5 years ago, even though, Kirk has celebrated year 70, he's still going strong. There's no reason now to say, we got to just start all over because we lost to USC and Oregon.
Yeah, and I think that is an argument that others, outsiders maybe will say, like to make, is like, can Kirk Ferentz be the one to take them to the next step? I think absolutely. I think that you've seen Iowa take steps. You bring in a Gronowski. You're continuously trying to bring in guys from the portal to elevate your team. They have elevated this program, I would argue. And then on the big picture, though, how can Iowa make this college football playoff? They're moving in the right direction, but I don't think that we also need to just negate or completely forget the fact that this is a team that is consistently having a winning season, that it's not just time to say, all right, let's start fresh, because there's so much good still around the program.
You look over the last 10 years, Iowa ranked 11th among power conference teams in victories. Over the last 10 years, they've had 4 10-win seasons. This is a quality program, a tough out. You see how much it meant to these teams to beat Iowa, USC. You see a very emotional Lincoln Riley, because they understand the mettle of the team that they're facing. This is a team that garners great respect. You look at the fundamentals that they play with is as good or better than anybody in the country. What you could say is some of the personnel wasn't elite. I think it was very, very good. Was there an elite pass rusher? Was there a Jack Campbell? No, there wasn't. There wasn't a wide receiver that can change the game, or a tight end that could do that. Some of that happens. You got injuries. You got Addison Ostrenga, your top tight end, is out for the season. There's been bumps in the road. But that said, there is no reason to think that this program's on the downswing. Not at all.
Agreed. With that, let's do our pick'ems. Iowa, Michigan State, obviously. Who you got?
This is going to be Iowa decisively. They're a 17-point favorite, and it might be more than that.
Yep, I agree. We're Iowa across the board. Iowa State versus Kansas. Colin did pick Kansas. The rest of us went Iowa State. I think Iowa State, they're at home. Kansas is okay.
I think this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be really fun. I picked Iowa State kind of at home, but Kansas still needs to get bowl eligible.
Okay.
So maybe this is the battle for the Texas Bowl or the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix. So that I think Kansas, it's going to be, I can see it getting in the high 30s to 40s.
And depending on the weather, too, obviously.
Not weather. I was talking about points.
No, I know. I'm saying depending on the weather, how many points. And then UNI, Youngstown State, we did not pick UNI. Not yet.
Give them another year, and maybe I'll think about picking them.
They're on the up. And then, obviously, the Big Ten game of the week, USC and Oregon. We all went Oregon.
Oregon is much more physical than USC, and I think this USC will score on Oregon, but in Autzen Stadium, I think Oregon's a better team. And I think USC will be left out of the playoff probably after losing this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm with you. Hometown advantage, but then also Illinois found a way to beat this USC team. Yeah,
that was at home, and it started at 9 o'clock body time.
There you go.
They were lucky.
All right, we'll talk hoops when we come back.
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome back to On Iowa Live here at the Pickle Palace. Scott Dochterman still with me, and then we have Joanna Mantz, Hannah Stuelke's mom, joining us because we are talking women's hoops. We will start Iowa. Started off on the right foot, we'll say, in regards to in-state opponents. They beat Drake Thursday 100-58, UNI 74-41 on the road, and then just mark your calendars now. December 10th is when they face Iowa State. The Hawkeyes have swept their 3 in-state opponents the past 3 years, so I know that is one that they're hoping to get. In Ames, though, let's talk just a little bit about yesterday's game, UNI. We were talking last week, chit-chat right, and then she goes off. 19 points. Layla Hayes added 14, and then she had 7 rebounds. Hannah also had 7 rebounds. But chit-chat, she shot the ball, and she looked good doing it.
She sure did. She's really playing well with a lot of confidence, and so it's been really fun to watch her. It's just going to be a great season, I feel, for her. She's coming in not really caring about what anybody's saying, anybody's thinking, and she's just playing basketball and having a lot of fun. I was rewatching some of the highlights from yesterday, and she's just having fun. There was a couple of times she's passed like between her legs out to 3-point shooters, and they just didn't fall. But if one of those hits during a game, I think it's just going to be bedlam. So she's a fun player to watch, and really the sky's the limit for her. Well, maybe not height-wise, but but you know, she's got all the other intangibles that you want in a point guard. Yeah. Just a little lady, but she's not playing like it.
And how was that atmosphere in Cedar Falls?
It was great.
Yeah,
Cedar Falls, the McLeod Center is a beautiful facility. You know, they have open windows on either side that kind of show some of the sunlight from outside. But yeah, it was a packed arena. I believe they said it was the 4th all-time attendance. They said it was the highest for women's basketball, which I kind of scratched my head at because I was there 2 years ago, Caitlin's senior year, and it seemed a little more packed then. But hey, we'll take it. You know, there was kids lined up to handshake and high five both teams after the game, and just a really great atmosphere. And you know, my sister talks about, you know, there's a T-shirt that says "Women's basketball lives here," and it really does.
Yeah.
In Iowa, it's hard pressed to get to an Iowa women's game, and so the fans are able to travel to UNI, and it's just a really great atmosphere.
Yeah. One thing I like that the Drake women's head coach Allison Pullman said about Iowa after they beat the Bulldogs 100-58 is the thing that impressed her most was Iowa's depth. And I do think right now that this team has a lot of depth and a lot of maybe unexpected depth because of some of the new faces and everything. We know, you know, what Hannah Stuelke brings to the table. We know what a Kylie Feuerbach, Taylor McCabe, and everything. But these new pieces, I think they're surprising a lot of fans. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I like, there's a couple of things I really like about this team. One, and it's related to the depth. One is you have places where they're almost interchangeable, like Layla Hayes and Ava Hayden in the post, but then you've got different pieces who do different things. I mean, Taylor McCabe is a sharpshooter, and she's getting to be a much better ball handler over the years. I mean, Chit Chat Wright is engineering victory, but also scoring points. I mean, she was 7 of 8 against UNI and 3 of 3 from 3. You also have Emily Rodriguez, who came in, and I think she can be a star in this offense. And then you could just, you can tilt your offense around what your team, I guess, on the floor around what you want and what you need given the moment. And then they have so much depth that sometimes you're wondering, Taylor Stremlow, I'd like to see more of you out there, but you're not getting out there. And and Tegan Malini finally was healthy enough to play, but they can go really deep, and then they can have different matchups, and I think that will help them as they start to get into really the teeth of their schedule.
Oh yeah. What have you enjoyed about this depth? And maybe Hannah, not so necessarily 5. Ava and Layla have kind of taken over that position.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been really great. Those who watch really closely may see that the offense has shifted just a little bit. So they're playing more of a 2-post offense, which is really old school basketball. I don't know any other team in the country that plays that. That's more like when I played. You put 2 posts down the block and go at it. But at one point in the game, Layla and Ava were in there together. And I'm looking at the lineup thinking, wait, who's playing what spot? But they did well. It wasn't a really long time. But I do think with the depth, it really is going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the Big Ten. We all know that the Big Ten competition is really going to ramp up compared to the teams that we've been playing. And so, once we get into that season and it starts to be a grind and all the players are big and all the players are stronger, it'll be interesting to see how the adjustments get made and how the rotations happen and just who subs for whom. And, you get some foul trouble in there and things can get shaken up pretty quickly. But I really like what Jan's been doing so far, allowing a lot of the girls to play so that we can kind of see what their strengths are and follow how they're going to go.
Yeah, obviously the Big Ten schedule is going to be tough, but then coming up to Thursday, they face Baylor 4-0, Miami 3-0 in Orlando. So those are, not road games, but they are at the same time. But obviously Baylor, they just got a big win over Duke, so they've seen some tough competition and everything. You mentioned the depth and how that's going to play out and whatnot. Do you think, though, that maybe even with this week, the in-state opponents and kind of the extraness that comes with playing the in-state opponents is going to help them, especially just even coming up this week?
Oh, yeah, I think so. One of the things about those in-state games is that a lot of those girls, I don't say they wanted to be Hawkeyes, but I think they wear that chip on their shoulder. Like, we are going to get them. We're not going to give them anything easy. They're very physical games. There's a lot of fouls that happen. Some go called, some go uncalled. And it's just a very different atmosphere. So I think heading into Orlando and playing Baylor, I think that's going to bode well for us just because, Baylor's probably going to be a little more tough physically than the teams that we've seen. I must add, though, because I'm a stats person, I love it. Duke lost to a team that only had 5 players the other day, so I don't know that saying, Baylor beat Duke is like an impressive thing, but
I saw the hoopla and all the extraness to it.
Right. The fact that they did, beat them, that's a big deal. But, I like what we're rolling in there with. Hannah's played against some of these players from Baylor. She probably doesn't remember them because that's not her thing, but I definitely will. And so I'm looking forward to see some of those matchups.
You bet.
Yeah, I would think that right now playing the in-state games are really important from an emotional standpoint. You've seen the crowds, you saw what you saw yesterday, but now the competition steps up, which is what they need. They need to, because the Big Ten's tough, but they're also playing. UConn is around the corner, and teams like this, and I think these exempt tournaments are important, and I really am anxious to see how they do in these 2 games.
Yeah. We'll talk more hoops when we come back.
Welcome back. We're joined by Ben from Elite Fitness. Ben, what different training services does Elite Fitness offer to people to help them meet their goals?
Yeah. So
can you make sure we get enough time to talk about the men? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome back. We're joined by Ben from Elite Fitness. Ben, what different training services does Elite Fitness offer to people to help them meet their goals?
Yeah, so we offer one-on-one personal training services. We have small group or classes available at all of our locations. And then we also offer our speed school program.
And what's the difference between these options and how do people benefit from
Yep,
them?
it can be a little overwhelming. So the one-on-one is going to be for anybody that's looking to get started or advance. Maybe they've stalled out in a program, just looking for new ideas to take it to the next step. The small group and classes, motivation and the good peer pressure to continue to show up and the accountability. And then the speed school program is going to be for athletes looking to become more explosive and take, again, their on-field performance to the next level.
And how can someone schedule these services?
EliteFitnessIowa.com is the place to start with that, and then we can help direct you to the best option for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, welcome back into OnIowa Live. We will start with an audience question. This one's from Eugene. Should we be surprised that Iowa women's team bench has been scoring so many points? Your guys' thoughts. I'll have you go first.
I would say no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're playing a lot of the similar minutes. And so when you start throwing out depth and then depth wears down your opponent and you're playing opponents who aren't to your abilities, that and then just pretty much anybody can score at that point. And I'm not surprised now. I'll reserve judgment when they start playing some really good teams.
I would say the same, that second half, yeah. Right now, a lot of it is just transition and run and gun. They rarely get into a set where they've got to run their offense, and reverse the ball a couple of times. And until it gets to that point, we'll see, kind of who becomes the scorers at that point. But yeah, it's just, it kind of is what it is sometimes in the preseason. And I think it's great that there's the bench scoring a lot of points.
I think so too. And I think it also goes back to the point that I made that not many people knew who Chit Chat and Emily and how they were going to kind of, figure into this lineup. So that's kind of why, they're letting them loose. They got to lock down the Hannahs and things like that. Yeah. Defensively, though, we haven't talked about that as much. This is a team that has been doing or playing more defense. Joanna, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's great. I know last year Coach Reyna really stressed a lot of defense. That was kind of her thing. And so it's been really good that they continued it on this year. I guess I haven't heard from Hannah which of the coaches is kind of the defensive coach. But yeah, they play a lot in the gaps, which just means that when you're not defending your girl, you're kind of in between and you're in their way. And, if you want to check out my videos on TikTok or Facebook, I talk about it, break it down a little more there. But there was a series where there was a lot of switches. Yeah, shameless plug. My Venmo is, no, I'm joking. There was a lot of movement, and Hannah kind of switched onto a guard, and then she was back in the gap, and it went back to her player, and then her player got a step on her, but Strem was in the gap, and Strem ended up picking off a pass, and so it just was a really great defensive segment for them. But yeah, they've picked up their defense, which is really good, because when you can obviously stop teams from scoring, Iowa doesn't really have a problem scoring. That's we've led the nation, maybe not right now or not last year, but we've led the nation before. We've been up there as far as the Big Ten goes. But yeah, the stopping of teams is what is going to be important going forward.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything, Scott, to that point at all? No.
No, I think they're playing good defense, but I want to see them against Baylor, and I want to see them against Miami and Iowa State and those teams.
Yeah, I think too. I think even going back to the Drake game, that one was kind of donezo first quarter. But I do think it's because they kind of got in the Bulldogs and they were stripping the balls. I think Emily Rodriguez is really good at that. She gets in there. Taylor Strimlow's obviously very physical, things like that. So I think it's good to see them execute it right now, because when they get to these tougher teams, that is kind of when things change and everything. Just before we wrap up things with women's basketball, this is kind of where we thought that they were going to be. No surprises so far. Maybe what areas would you like to see more growth from this team? Any thoughts on that right now?
Scott?
I guess I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but I really want to see them against good teams, just like the men played Xavier the other night, and that was the first time that they've been challenged, and they rose to the challenge. So I want to see what the women can do against teams in their part of the world. Let's say.
I think that's good. I think running the offense all the way through and finding the best option is going to be really important going forward. Some of the younger players, you see them come in and they're, just one pass to a shot or dribble pull-ups, and that's okay now when we're up 40 points. But again, you have to value every single possession of the basketball when you get against those better teams, and so they have to know where they can go with it on offense. And it's a lot of times it's just repetition of running that offense. I know, Hannah has said before, well, I'm not going to look for my shot on the first pass. That's dumb. It's never been something she's ever done. We have to run the offense and get the best open shot, and it doesn't always happen in these early games. It kind of waits for a challenge, and so I'm excited to see how Thursday this weekend goes, because it'll be interesting to see if they run a little more of their offense.
Yeah, I think 2 free throws a little bit against you and I. It was a little bumpy to start, and it was like, okay, what's going on?
Shooting wasn't the greatest. We'll give that to old TK or whatever their mascot is. He was under the basket razzing them.
I think that was something. And then too, like you said, a little bit too, the perimeter shooting's really good too, but also working it inside when you get those big bigs and you have to go up against them. And if things aren't falling from the outside, how do we make sure that we get it on the inside? Let's talk a little bit men's basketball. Ben McCollum squad off to a 3-0 start, no surprise. Scott, you just alluded though to the Xavier when 81-62. Bennett Sturts led with 21 points, 8 rebounds. No surprise there. I feel like it's a team where Bennett Sturts is going to get his points. He's going to do his thing. How can everyone else kind of contribute as well? What did you like about that Xavier win?
I think first to win by 19 against a quality program like Xavier really shows that there's growth. Now Xavier's 2-2. They're not exactly what they have been, but they're still a name. They're from the Big East. That's at home on a Friday night, and Iowa was able to win. Bennett Sturts, second straight game with 20-plus points. He's averaging 21.3, doing everything and more that probably what we expected of him, and 16 assists already this year. But the player that I'm really fascinated to see how he grows within this system as he continues to evolve in this is Alvaro Fergares. And, he averages almost 11 points a game, but he has 11 assists and no turnovers. And he's also leading the team with 6 rebounds per game, and he has 6 steals. So he's efficient. He is a weapon because he's that stretch 4 type of pick and pop, could do everything you ask him to do. And in this offense, if he can hit the 3, then I think they are really in good shape going forward. And they play SEMO tomorrow. That's a game that they'll win decisively before they even step on the court. Yeah. But I think going forward, you really want to see what happens next week when they're on a tournament, and then of course when they get into playing Iowa State. But I like the way this team has come together so far. They're playing really well, and now it's just a matter of take another step at a time. They're going to probably have a setback at some point,
for sure.
But overall, I think this team is headed in the right direction.
And Joanna, I wanted to see if you wanted to share too. Oh, you talked a little bit about the culture has changed and how the team is kind of high five fans and everything. But you actually said that Hannah said that the men's team had a little bit more interaction with the women's team this year. Do you want to just tell a little bit about that?
Definitely, yeah. She just said, when they see each other, in passing, going to the locker room or in the weight room, that a lot of the gentlemen are gentlemen. That they're saying hello, they're high fiving, they're hey, good job, good game. They come to the games, and I think that's just trickling down from the coach. Mm-hmm. I think he's doing a really good job of letting these men know you are what is going to drive our culture. The way you interact, the things that you do is going to do it. That's one of the things that Coach Jen and Lisa have done so well over the years is whenever they on a microphone, mm-hmm. they said, thank you fans, it's you, and so, it's the same that this men's team now is trying to build that like your fan support is what's important to us. And, I like that the coach is going to try and get some cheers going. If you need any help, let me know. I like to stand up and make a fool of myself. So I can lead some cheers, and teach them so that you can be cheering as well. But yeah, it's a different culture there that he's starting to build as well. So that's exciting to see.
Absolutely. Well,
That's needed to happen. I mean,
yes.
it really need to bring the fans in and bring them back into the Iowa Hawkeye fold. And I think they're starting in that direction. And January is when that will really matter, when you get in Big Ten play.
Yeah. I wanted to point it out because it's very authentic.
Yeah.
It's not being forced. It's just who they are. And I think it's going to be appreciated. Well, thank you both for joining me on the show. When we come back, we will have the Marion Volleyball team join us. All right, welcome back into On Iowa Live. Right now we are joined by Marion head coach of the volleyball program, Roxanne Paulson. Marion finished the season 28-14, clinched the spot at state for the fourth time in 5 years. What does that say about this program and just the way that they've been able to qualify for state?
It's been exciting. It's a lot of fun for the girls. I got a great group of coaches involved in my program that I think have been around with us for a long time. And the girls have an idea of what's going on in our program. So they know what to expect. They know what to expect from us, where our expectations are. And, when you set that as your goal every year, it does make a difference. It helps the kids kind of settle in and know this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, and you guys had a tough one in that regional final to get through. Obviously, ran into Solon again, but they beat you guys during the regular season. This one, though, you were able to take it to them. Yeah, tell me about that one.
Yeah. Really, I would say a lot of the years we've made it, we probably have not been what I would consider an underdog, or we've had a home seed. And this is probably the second year in the last, but the first that we've actually made it through. And I think we started talking as soon as we saw the bracket come on. We're like, hey, you guys, this is doable. We lost in 5 the first time around, and I think we missed 6 serves in a set. We lost 24-26 against them. So we knew that if we put some things together, kept our focus, that we actually had a shot. And we had no pressure. We spent a lot of time talking about this is not on us. They're the ones that have won twice. They're the ones that are the higher seed. They're the ones that are expected to win. Let's just go play. Let's just have fun. Let's get after it, and whatever happens, we'll see where we go. And they did.
I was and to have state on the line too, I'm sure that was just a motivator for your team as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It always is, and they handled it great. I would say nerve-wise, they handled that very well.
Yeah. Is this where you expected this team to finish this season?
I think we were hoping that.
Yeah.
We started unranked, so we really weren't sure in the beginning of the season what was in store for us.
Yeah.
But we had some good wins early on, and I think started to get into the rankings. And at that place, I think then we thought, yep, we've got a shot at this. And I think they did too as we got to playing more and more. We run a tough schedule, and so over and over, I felt we were tested for sure before we got to that place.
How much does your conference help prepare you for the state tournament and things?
Yeah. On our division, 5 of us were ranked. You can't take a night off.
Yeah.
Even, the 6th rated team was Independence this year, and we knew going into that one we were still going to have to play. There was no way you can show up and not play in our conference. And you get a lot of weekend tournaments. You play 2 out of 3. There's just something different about 3 out of 5.
Graduate 4 seniors, is that correct? What is the senior class meant to this program?
Oh, I think if you'd ask a majority of the girls, they'd tell you they've been huge. They came in, I think, with a goal of A, getting to state, and B, they really wanted to set the tone and be good leaders, be good teammates, connect with their team, and they put a lot of work in, and I thought that it paid off in the end. I'm a true believer in the end when you have good senior leadership, you got to play for somebody other than yourself. And so we do talk about that, and why not play for those seniors? And when they've put the work in to be those players you can play for, I think that's huge.
Well, it's a special season, obviously, especially when it ends down in Coralville. That's always a good thing. As far as who's coming back to and what they were able to put together this season, that's got to be exciting for next season.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've got a lot of kids coming back. Both outsides are back. We've got a middle coming back. We've got some right sides that have had a little experience. Our whole backcourt is back. That's exciting too. That one time we were doing a serving and receiving drill, and they were at each other a little bit. We were pushing them, and I'm like, look at you guys. How many of you are going to be back next year? Well, all of us. I said, yeah. I said, everything we do to make each other better is not just for this year. It's for the next year or 2 or 3 years. So they've really embraced that, and it'll be exciting to see where we go.
Do you have a favorite memory from this season that stands out?
Oh, it has to probably be the Solon match.
Yeah?
I think it definitely was one of our key matches. I think the way it ended, it was a hitting error on their part, and we didn't know. We're like, why did play stop? It was a scramble ball. The ball almost hit the floor. Our libero dove for it. Our setter dove for it. We make it over, and all of a sudden it's like, we see the official do one of these. We're like, what just happened? My staff, we didn't really know. We're like, we won, that's it. So for us, it was really exciting to pull that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big memory that sticks in my mind.
That's a good one. That's a good one. When we come back, we'll have the entire team join us on stage. All right, welcome back to On Iowa Live. We've got the entire Marion Volleyball team now joining us on stage. We'll go ahead and introduce who is on the mic. Why don't we start with you? Go ahead.
I'm Addison. I'm a senior middle.
Beautiful.
I'm Grace. I'm a senior and I'm a setter.
Well, we just heard Coach say what her favorite memory was from the season. Is that the same as you, both of you, or do you have a different one?
I would say mine's probably the last Solon game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that. Obviously, stayed on the line. Coach, mentioned that and everything, but just going into it, because that one too went to 5 sets as well, and you guys also went to 5 sets earlier in the season. But what gave you guys the edge in that one?
I think it was just that there was so much on the line, and that we had worked so hard up to that point, and we were just on an upward trajectory the whole season. And so just the confidence of that. And then Paulson always said so many times, like, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And that was, for me at least, so motivating to be successful for that game.
Yeah. What did it mean when you guys, it sounded like there was a little delayed reaction because we didn't know necessarily what happened on the court, but once you did, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, I think it was just like more special because we got to do it with like this team. Like, we're all really close, and I think we all just like really talked before the game like we were going to win this. Like, we were coming into the game going to win it. And I think it just made it a lot more fun that we got to do it like together.
Yeah. You guys have been to state now 4 times in the last 5 years. That's incredible. What has that kind of journey been like for you guys?
This was my first time at state.
Okay.
So I've only been on varsity my junior and senior year.
Yeah.
And so that it limits the opportunity, and I think it was just really exciting to be able to accomplish that once in my high school career.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. What does that mean to see this program, kind of consistently at the state tournament?
Yeah, so I was on the team when we went my sophomore year.
Okay.
So, and then last year was kind of a heartbreak. In the 5th set, we also lost to go to state. This year, I think it was more fun to do it like with this group, and I know I wanted to go to state my senior year, so I'm glad we got it done.
Yeah. What's that experience like? I know obviously it hasn't been at Coralville for a while now, but what is that like? What do you guys like about it being in Coralville and just getting that, state tournament experience?
I just think all the things that came with it, all the things that built up throughout the day. We spent the whole day together. We watched all these amazing programs competing against each other. And then we got ready together, we warmed up. It was just, we got to do it all together and play the game we love together. And I think that was just the most fun part. And it's, decorated to be fun at the extreme.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah. And you're one of 4 seniors that is going to graduate. But what do you think, you hoped that some of these younger underclassmen kind of learned from this senior group?
Yeah, I would definitely say our leadership and just coming into practice, always wanting to get better, working hard, being a team too. I feel like us seniors especially wanted it to just be a culture where we were just all super close and we were having fun the whole practice, and I feel like that really paid off in the end.
Yeah, this one's for everyone. Did you guys have fun this season at all?
Yeah.
That's good. What do you think made it fun? I know wins obviously come with it, that helps a little bit, but what made this season fun for you?
I think just the relationships, and then the fact that we were successful. It's so fun to win and beat big teams, and just going to state and all that. Just everything was fun.
Yeah. Anything you want to add about what you enjoyed most?
I don't know.
Yeah. Did you guys do any team bonding activities that were fun, maybe outside?
So the night before state, we went to Addison's house and we tinseled a bunch of people's hair. There was some malfunctions, but we got through it.
Oh no, what were the malfunctions?
Just trying to put the tinsel in the hair. It took a little bit of time.
It's more difficult than it looks.
Yeah.
That is the trend though. I've noticed that, the tinsel. Is that just something that you guys wanted to do because just state?
Yeah, just to embrace it. And it's there's so many other things that are illegal to do. You can't put glitter and all that. So
Okay.
And then dyeing's a little more temporary, or permanent, I mean.
Yes,
yeah, just to have fun and make it colorful.
You didn't want to do pink tips on the hair?
Some did.
Some did. We had a few that did. Yeah, I
I
believe it. When you guys look back at this season, what do you think you'll remember most?
Just that we went to state.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the relationships I built with, especially the underclassmen this year, are relationships that I'll cherish probably forever. And I think that is one of the most memorable things for me because it really just fueled everything else, I would say. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say getting to go to state one last time with especially this group. Like, I've made so many relationships with people I already had and like new ones with new people on varsity and stuff. So yeah, I'll always remember those relationships and memories.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, it's not easy to get to this state
No.
tournament. I know that you're a
No.
program that's been there a few times in the last few years, but it's not easy. So you guys should be very proud of what you accomplished this season. Thank you for joining me this week, guys. We'll see you next week on OnIowa Live.
Thank you.